Hello, and this is the 5th tutorial for Smash Attacks. What we're going to be dealing with right now is advanced terminology, which is the extension of basic terminology from before. So, go ahead and open Smash Attacks. Don't really have to for this tutorial, because I'll just be explaining. Doesn't matter who you open. So the more advanced you get into this program, the more you realize that pretty much anything can be done, even though there are a lot of limitations. So most of the advanced things, click on add, it'll add this. The advanced things I'm going to be talking about are mostly the types of things you can add. And this is really how you're going to be able to get those original moves. So first on the block is timer. You know timers from before. Timer sets a timer. When it's finished, it moves on to the next thing. So timer 1 second, even though it doesn't have seconds, well, after 1 second moves on to the next thing. No P, no parameter, that means nothing. This is the only time you can actually add things without worrying about memory worries. Timer again, probably exactly the same. Set loop. This is very important with your specials, not really your sub actions, but they do use them a lot too. You have to set the loop that will set it up, then you have to execute it, then everything after that will be executed. These are the other commands below here. So you're going to set it, you're going to execute it, and now these things will happen. So you can execute, you can go to a subroutine, which is these over here. You could return, which is come back from that subroutine. You could go to, I'm not sure what the difference between go to and subroutine is. Do the same thing. If, great commands. Anyone who's done coding before knows that an if statement is the basis of anything. It's great. Else, that's like if you're pressing B, shoot a fireball, or else don't. Okay, end if, it's another if statement, but this one goes at the end. If you stop holding down B on Bowser's fire breath, it's gonna stop. Switch. Yes, this, you set something to turn it on, and then when something else, it turns it off, a la a switch. Case. Not sure what that does. Default case. No idea. End switch. Obviously, it's going to stop the switch. So stop it from being able to turn on or off anymore. Loop rest has to go before the end of a X when you finish your loop. It has to go before. Change action, it's going to change it up. Additional requirement, obviously adds another requirement. Okay, so change sub action. Okay, you pretty much, you'll go to that sub action, and then it's going to decide whether that's going to change the animation or just continue. Reverse directions, like when you do an attack and then at the end of it you end up facing the other way. Offensive collision is what everybody loves, would like to know more about. Okay. Offensive collisions, whenever two things touch, is a collision. And an offensive collision is when one thing's doing damage to the other. So the bone ID, this is the bone of the character that is actually colliding. Damage, this is in hexadecimal. And well, that is how much damage it does. So when you touch it, it's going to take that damage. Trajectory, that's the angle. So if you're punching someone in the face, they're not going to go straight up in the air. Base knockback is how far the target is launched, regardless of how high their percent is. So if you have 999%, you're always going to go at least this amount. Knockback growth is the amount that knockback grows according to how much damage you have. So maybe it's like 0.3. So if you have 30%, then you're going to go 30% times 0.3, and that's how much is added. Size is like, obviously, Ganondorf's fist is bigger than something. How big it is, how sensitive the collision is. So this offset is, if it's like a weird thing, like Link's sword, I don't believe the sword is actually a bone. So that would have to be an offset if you want to hit someone with the tip of your sword. Rotation. No one knows what this does because bubbles are perfect spheres, as it says below here. Flags. Again, they do a bunch of stuff, but you will most likely not be getting into that. I closed that for a reason. Okay. Terminate collisions. You have to have this to stop checking. It's going to check. Terminate collisions. Okay, stop checking. Body collision is when you get hit, I think. Or maybe it's how you react. So are you going to just flinch or not? Catch collision is when, like, someone throws something at you, it's going to check the collision, and then you catch it. So that's like when you tap A, and you have to terminate that so it stops catching. Throw attack collision, when you get hit by something thrown. When you throw something. Special offensive collision, that's when you're touching something that's not a person. So when two bones aren't touching, that's this. Defensive collision is when you get hit, probably. Weapon collision is when you get hit with a home run bat. Thrown collision is when you get tossed. Sound effect is really fun. Don't try them because, holy, you'll get that annoying beep sound. Adds a sound effect to whatever's going on. Other sound effect. Terminate instance. When you look through, you'll see instances, and you have to stop those. Otherwise, they'll keep going forever. Low voice clip adds a voice clip, even though that's probably more for the actual program to tell what's going on. Potato, these are all the same thing. Time manipulation. This is most likely, it makes the wait and the timers slower. Or it could be like Luigi's Final Smash, making things slower, like stopwatch and others. Set air ground is very important. If you're on the ground, you're on the ground. And that's this. Generate article. This is like Mario's fireball. You have to generate that article. Graphic effect is like the smoke that comes out of the back of Mario when he uses his cape. External graphic effect. Very similar to graphic effect, except they're just different files. Screen tint. I believe on Mario's Final Smash, the screen tint's a little bit red. That's this. More graphic effects. Set basic variable. You can make up your own variables here. And float. Float points are used in a lot of games. Very annoying. They're like hexadecimal. And I will not tell you more about that because they're very, very advanced. Set bit variable. You're going to get rid of them. Camera close up. For instance, with Mario's Final Smash, it zooms in on him. Normal camera goes back. When you pick up an item, when you throw an item, when you drop the item, when you chow down on the item, the properties of the item, when you generate an item. This is very similar to article generation, except some things are items, some are articles. So Mario's Fireball is an article, but Link's Bomb is an item because other characters can pick it up. An item is able to be held by other characters. Throw item, Terminate flash effect. So when you have a flash effect, you have to make it stop, otherwise it's going to be flashing all the time. Flash overlay, same thing. It's going to flash. Change flash overlay color. Flash light effect. That's all these things are the same. They just change. Allow interrupt. This is very important. So, for instance, Captain Falcon goes for a Falcon Punch. Before he actually does it, this states that you can hit him and it will stop. This is very important because if that doesn't happen, it will not stop. So I hope you enjoyed the advanced terminology and keep learning about this great program.